You're listening to the Align and Inspire podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Monique, and in this episode, I am going to be sharing my top insights from a live event that I went to with a guest actually on this podcast. And my intention for this episode is for you to get some of my best insights from a live event so that you can apply them to your business in 2025. So in this episode, I just went to one of my favorite live events. It's called Business by Design with James Wedmore. I went last year and loved it. So I went back again this year. It is a room full of 1,000 entrepreneurs that are just like you and me. If you are a listener of the show, I really believe that you would probably like to be in that room. It is 1,000 entrepreneurs who are very heart-centered, usually have more of a spiritual focus, and are really in it to serve people, to help people, as well as being ambitious and growing their business and all that kind of thing. And so he does Business by Design, James Wedmore. If you haven't heard of him, look it up. He's very well known. And I was able to go with one of my friends, Michelle Lake. And so this conference or this event is really for entrepreneurs who are in the digital learning space like you and me. So people who are coaches, mentors, experts, membership site owners, course creators, those kinds of people. And I had the joy of being able to go with my friend Michelle Lake. We've been friends for a few years now. We met in another paid program. And Michelle is a coach for endurance athlete coaches. So she helps coaches become coachpreneurs. And she has such fantastic strategy. So I invited her onto the podcast and we did one together where I am going to share my top insights from this event, but she's also going to share hers as well. So you'll get 6 of our top insights and the things that really made a big difference that we're going to be applying in 2025 so that you can kind of get a glimpse of what it would be like to be at that event. And also you can learn from our experience, from the things that really struck home or hit home for us so that you can apply them to your business too. I always find it so fascinating to hear about different people's experiences. And so that is my intention for you for this episode. So without further ado, let's play the episode with Michelle Lake.
Welcome back to my podcast, Michelle Lake, host of the Endurance Coachpreneur. And Lauren, why don't you introduce yourself first? We're going to do a little podcast together. So instead of trying to create all these complicated files, we're going to roll with it. So Lauren, you go first and then I'll introduce myself.
Because if you've heard me before, you know that I'm all about how could we make this simpler and more efficient. So if you're new to me, hello, my name is Lauren Monique and I help experts and coaches create their signature programs.
And my name is Michelle Lake, and I'm the host of the Endurance Coachpreneur, and I help endurance coaches build their businesses. And Lauren and I happen to be really good friends. I would say we're one of each other's business besties, right?
Absolutely.
And we decided when we were roommates at James Wedmore's Business by Design Live that we would do a podcast reviewing our top 3 takeaways. And we had meant to do it like the last night we were there, but I was exhausted and about to get on a red eye. And Lauren tried to talk me into it, but my energy was like, bah. So here we are a week or so out, I guess, right, Lauren?
Yeah. And I think for you listening too, we're going to share our top takeaways and they might be things that you can take away in your business. But the other thing to think about too, I always like to, at this time of year, look back and see what are some of the lessons and takeaways that you have from the previous year. Because I don't know about you, but my natural tendency is to always look forward and look at my goals, move forward. But it's really in looking back that you actually get the lessons you need to achieve your next goal.
100%. And I always start the goal sessions with my coaches, looking back at the wins from the year before, but I sometimes struggle to do that myself unless I'm close. So it was really good that we went to this. It was a 3-day conference. There was 1,000 people, which is a bigger conference than I've ever been to. I guess Lauren went last year, but this is my first one. And it was crowded full of excited people. And it was much more mindset-y than I expected. There was strategy. It was a marketing conference, but it was a lot of mindset. What did you think?
Yeah, I think it was a lot of mindset, and I actually really appreciated that because that's where I'm at right now. I feel like I have the strategy I want to use, but the mindset is really helpful for me in this current season. So, I appreciated it.
So we have planned our 3 biggest takeaways, but I have a takeaway or kind of like a realization that's happened since. Do you have a realization that's happened since? I'm
curious. I want to hear yours first.
Okay, well, I'll go first. So just yesterday, no, it was maybe Monday or Tuesday. Now we're on Friday. So it was a couple of days ago. I realized from this conference that people have been telling me over and over and over again that I need to hire more people and get more help, and I need to stop doing so many things. And I agree with them, but I also go, it's just so easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do all the things yourself. And the realization that just kind of like hit me like a ton of bricks was that it's not that I can't do the things. It's that it's keeping me busy and keeping me from the new projects that my business needs right now. And I'm not giving it that time or fuel to keep growing because I'm too busy in the weeds working on little things. So it really hit home, like really hard. So did you have one that's hit that you've had after the fact? And then we'll go into the ones that came up during.
Yeah, I think that's one that I kind of knew it going into it, that's what I wanted to hire again soon. But I think the thing that I don't know if you resonate with this, Michelle, but for me, it's like, I know I can do things quickly and so I can get things done fast, but there's getting things done quickly that you shouldn't be doing in the first place anyway, because it stops you from growing. Like, gets in the way of doing the things that you actually need to be doing. So I'm with you. Need to hire in 2020.
But we both had the same realization. Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm. So let's get to our takeaways. What's your first takeaway?
So it was from a speaker. She's on Instagram. Her name is Nutrition for Littles, I think. Alyssa.
Mm-hmm. Alyssa Miller,
yeah. And she did a talk about how she basically went from was it like a $13,000 or $19,000 business to the next year was like 400 something thousand. And then this year is $1 million business. And that's pretty intriguing to me. I'm curious about that. And she gave bullet points, and one of her ones that really hit home that I thought would be useful for a lot of people is be okay being misunderstood. What that means is it's okay that you're not going to be the person for everyone. And I think, especially in my industry, so many people are trying to be everybody's friend and everybody's perfect person when really you're only going to be the perfect person for a segment of the people.
Yeah.
And when you try to be like everybody else, you really don't shine through. And I think she even said like her engagement and her posts started doing so much better and getting a lot more, downloads of her product or her freebie. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was after she started being truthful, saying things that she hadn't wanted to say to offend people. So that's my first one. Be okay being misunderstood. What is your first?
Yeah, I'm going to follow up with Alyssa as well. But the thing that I think about that too is like, if you're listening, a lot of people that I work with are really worried about how they're communicating things. And am I going to be communicating the way I want people to understand me? Ultimately, we can't control how things are going to be understood or how things are going to be interpreted. And even if you're trying to, people are still going to interpret it in their own ways and with their own beliefs and their own lenses anyway. So you might as well say it the way you want to say it. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, was that your first one or you just?
No, that was my follow-up. But my first one is actually from Melissa as well. And she emphasized creating your mission and being clear on what your mission is. And I think my mission was a little bit fuzzy. And I was really struck by that in her presentation as well. And so my mission now is to help entrepreneurs create signature programs so that they can live the vision they have for themselves and light the way for others so that they can create,
I love that,
their dream life or the thing that they really want to create, the vision, but also because I just always think about the ripple effect that it has, like the thing that you're creating right now and the ripple effect it has on all of your clients. That's what I love. So I'm all about the mission now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think we get lost. And the part I heard about the mission was that a lot of us get on these like obsessive need, like my goal, we're just setting goals right now because it's December and that's what you do. And you set a goal that's like, I want in my niche 20 athletes by the end of the year. And then you rush to that goal and forget everything else. And then if you get to 18, you're like, well, I failed. Or if you get to 15, you make all these like assumptions about it. And she says when you focus more on the mission, which honestly, her mission is to help picky eaters. There's going to be picky eaters until the rest of time. There's going to be coaches that need help with their business for the rest of time. There's going to be entrepreneurs that need help building their signature program for till the rest of the time. And then so when we actually like step back and focus more on the mission, the goal will happen, right? That part was powerful for me. I did not put it on my list though. It's good that
That's why I'm so curious to hear what your takeaways are now.
beforehand what they were. So
yeah.
Should I do my next one?
Yeah, do it.
What really struck me is we heard from a lot of $1 million or very, very successful entrepreneurs in the coaching course creation space. And a lot of them had small products like $49 or I have this $27 ebook. I don't know, not necessarily that, but they really started with huge memberships. Like I was sitting next to a woman at dinner the first night who has a membership that has 7,000 people in it. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Right. So I think the membership's like $32 US dollars, and then she has some higher level offerings too. But if you do the math, she's doing pretty well. And that, to get to what my actual point is that automations and delegation is like, you have to have it to get to the level they're at. There's nobody that's, oh yeah, I did this all by myself and I manually do everything. It's like everybody has big team, and I don't want to say big teams, but bigger teams than maybe you and I have. Yeah. They have a lot of automations, which we're working on our team to get done. But automations meaning like a lot of things are happening in the background, like automated webinars or funnels or, even just how they run the business. So it was like it's a requirement. I wrote, it's a requirement or prerequisite for success to have those things.
Absolutely. Because then it's like your business is an entity, right? Rather than you just always having to be the one doing things to move it forward.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us start as an entrepreneur because we like doing all the things. And then when we realize the business can only grow to the level of that you let those automations and the delegations get things moving. And they're like, oh yeah, well, I guess I'm gonna have to get rid of some things I like in the name of growth and a greater impact for the people we like to help. So, but I was so surprised by how many of them were like, I have this thing that runs in the background and I have this thing that does this and my team does this. And I was like, oh, okay. It's not that you had a great idea really.
Yeah.
That you created a machine.
Yeah. It's so about there's so many great ideas. It's more about how you execute them, right? Like good ideas well executed rather than having the best idea.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Okay. What's your second one?
Okay. My second one was more of a mindset one. And then my third one will be a little bit more strategy. But my second one is one challenge that Michelle probably knows a little bit about is that I've always felt like I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. Every time I go to a new level, I have this fear that I'm not going to be good enough at this next level. And I realized as we were doing the mindset work that this isn't something that just happened to me in business. This is something I've been saying forever. And it really just comes from this, like, if you've ever heard of Carol Dweck's work of a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. And I knew the concept of a growth mindset, but I think because that belief was formed when I was a child, I still had a fixed mindset anytime I went to go do something new, that I wasn't good enough when I started. So therefore I wasn't good enough. And it was something that like I would push through it. And I'm a very ambitious person and I would push through it. But every time I hit a new goal, I would think I'm not good enough. And then I had to like work extra to make up for it or something like that. And then it hit me. And the reason I wanted to share this is in case you're listening and you ever have that thought, like, what if I'm not good enough to do this? Is I had this realization of when I look back at all the times that I've said that to myself when I was 11, when I was 17, when I was 22, all those kinds of things. I always actually was good enough, but I couldn't see it in the time. So if you can kind of remember that you were actually good enough and you can always improve, right? That growth mindset piece, that you can have that now rather than always thinking like letting that stop you and letting that go for the goal that you're the next big thing that you want to do is reminding yourself that you already were. And so you are now too. That makes sense.
I love it. And something that came up for me when you were saying it is somebody posted on Threads, like, how would your like 8-year-old self or something, I don't know, it was young age, think about you today? Right. And it was like, I think my 8-year-old self would be pretty impressed. So, it kind of putting the time, like swapping the time around about like where you are and what you've done, that you are good enough, right? Like your 8-year-old self would be like, damn girl.
The gap and the gain, right? Like going, instead of always being in the gap, which is like, I'm not where I want to be yet. And I'm always looking forward, going back and seeing the gains that you've made, right? Like, oh, I've been able to, like, I was just talking to a principal yesterday at my son's school that I actually used to teach with. years ago. And he was like, what are you doing now? And I kind of explained, I'm helping people develop their curriculum. Like, how can I say this in a way that you understand what I'm doing?
Yeah.
And he was like, oh my gosh, really? Wow. And I thought, oh yeah, I guess from the time that we worked together 5-6 years ago, like when I think about the gain, it is quite different than where I was then.
It's crazy. Yeah. And I think we struggle to zoom out.
Mm-hmm.
We, as much as I teach like my athletes and the business owners to focus on the now, sometimes you got to zoom out and look at where you come, right? I like the gap in the gain. It's super cool. Okay.
The gap in the gain. Focus on the gain. Yeah.
Number 3. Are we at number 3? I knew we could get this done in under 30 minutes. We'll see.
Let's go.
Well, then we should just generally talk about like the conference. We haven't really said what it was about. We could do that at a time. So mine was around manifestation, and I had a really good year in 2023, and 2024 wasn't a bad year. There was a lot of shifting. It was like a shifting year, but there were some major gains made in the back end, but I wasn't really manifesting towards a short-term goal in 2024. And going to James's conference, or the BBD Live, as we call it, a lot of talk about manifestation, and that you really need a goal that you're heading towards. Like you need something. Like I have a little sticky on next to my plant here now. I need something that I see all the time. And in 2023, I had a goal that I was observing constantly. Like I'd look at it like a couple times a week. And this year it was like, grow. I want to grow. It was like, it was too general.
Yeah.
Well, and I wrote manifestation, a goal you're heading towards, and clarity underlined around it. Like I need clarity around what I'm heading towards. So I have that now. So I'm hoping in 2025, we'll come back and do this at the end of that year, and I'll be like, yep, it worked. Because you need that thing that you're shooting for. Mm-hmm. You can't just be like aimlessly growing.
Yeah, totally. Because then you know where you're going, and it gives you that direction. And then when you can let go of the voice saying you're not good enough to hit it, you can hit it.
Well, I'm not gonna let you do that. Well,
no, I really think I really feel like I've let that one go, actually.
Okay, good. Okay, your third one.
Okay, my third one is something I've always believed in, or something that's always been very important to me, but I really like the way that James Wedmore, so Business by Design is James Wedmore's conference, the way he said it, and it is to transcend content. And I think, especially like with ChatGPT and things like that, sometimes people think, oh, I just need to ask ChatGPT to like map out my course for me. Or they think, oh, I just need to create some videos and then I'll go sell it. But when you really want to get people results, you need to think of a way of how you're going to transcend content, because people just listening to your content and your videos isn't necessarily going to get them the transformation. You need to have other things in place for them to actually be able to get the result. So in my program, I call them implementation strategies and a focus on results. So what are the things that you're going to do on top of having pre-recorded content, if that's your goal? What kinds of things are you going to do to support people so that you can actually get them implementing and you're transcending content? Because content is available on Google. It's about how you support them and actually getting them the result, rather than just feeling like you just need to impart all the knowledge you have in your head into your course.
I love that. I have to think about it more too, because it's beyond content, right? Like like beyond, and the ChatGPT stuff. It's tricky because it's helpful, but it probably gives us some level of like clarity on some things, but it also is dangerous, right? Dangerous in a like, you need to have, as a coach or a course creator or a group program developer or whatever you are, you're going to need to still have your own thoughts. Like your brain is a muscle that needs to be worked too, right? So
yeah. And the thing too, I think about ChatGPT when it comes to, for your coaches, if you're an endurance coach or if you have an expertise in that you're creating a program for it, the thing I find about ChatGPT is it's still reasonably general if you ask it for advice, and it can't really capture the way you know your clients and where they are, where they started and where they want to go and how you create that plan for them. It's going to be nuanced for different people. And that's the magic that you have that ChatGPT can't capture, because it's not going to know all of your individual clients like you do.
Yeah, I played with it this little.
I still like it. I still use it. But to me, it's like, it's a tool. It's not the end result.
I played with it, and I had been playing a little bit with like a brand guide and some other things. And then I said, give me a Reels idea. Because I had some B-roll, and I was like, give me a Reels idea. And it gave me like 2 or 3, and I didn't like them. And then another one, I said, give me some more. And it gave me another one I liked. And I was editing it to be completely my own voice. And in fact, I even changed the bullets, but I liked the last bullet. And dummy me went in and just cut and paste the bullet into my notes or into the reel. And then when I hit it, when I let it out, I said, you there.
Oh no.
And I'm like, the one time I ever play around with ChatGPT to create content and I mess it up. And I think it goes back to like trusting yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's probably lots of great ideas in your brain and you're just kind of not trusting yourself. Like I've worked with coaches that clearly just, they have so many good ideas, but they don't trust them. They don't trust themselves that they're good enough. Like we'll go back to that. Are you good enough? Right. So then instead they'll just won't post content. They'll just stop because they're like, well, I don't think it's good enough. So I'm not going to post. And that's always, so.
And I think sometimes that comes back to the idea of like the external validation. Like if you grew up always looking for the gold stars or winning competitions or whatever it is, or winning races, I don't know. And then you stop getting that external validation. It's like, who's to say if this piece of content is where I want it to be, right? So you need to be able to trust yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, because the content's never going to be right for everyone. And then, but what even is good content is a rhetorical. Yeah. What bad content? What's a failure? Like, there's no such thing as any of those. There's no definition for any of that. I mean, you can make your content more engaging or more converting or more, but even we all know that one piece of content rarely converts.
Yeah. It's really about being able to have that like library that people can look through and get to know you rather than just having that one.
It's going to take a long time to know, like, and trust you. So, that's why you just keep posting each day, hoping that each post moves like you a 1% further, or whoever you're trying to convert, you move them forward each post 1%. And a really great post may get 2% further, and a so-so post, because it reminded you of them, moves them 0.5% further. Right. Yeah. So it's like, but none of them are moving you like 70% further. No. I think sometimes you'll do a post that may just like be the little like click, like we both had something that Alyssa had said and we're both like, oh yeah, that really hit home. Right. So that could be like, there couldn't always be this like catalyst type event that makes you go, oh, okay, yeah, it's time to hire this person or make a change. But in general, it takes a long time. So it was my first conference in a big room and it was really fascinating. And there's all different kinds of entrepreneurs and all different levels. There was $1 million entrepreneurs, and there were people in there that had, never done a meditation before, I'm pretty sure. And there were other people that do meditations like 8 times a day. We did a bunch of meditations. We bent some spoons.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
And I think too, if you're listening, that's one thing that I've really been struck by is I didn't go to events for the first few years of my business, partially because my kids were really little at the time. But the power of going to a live event, especially if you are the only person that you know who is an entrepreneur or isn't like a coach for like athletes and things like that, to be with other people doing what you do and being able to talk about it and hearing other people's stories. There's really something unique about being able to go to a retreat like Michelle runs or any kind of live event, because it really gets you out of your day-to-day routine and brings you into a whole new world. And so I would highly, highly recommend, if in 2025 you have the opportunity to go to an event like that, because it really, like, it's such an effort to go, I find, but it really is worth it.
Yeah, vacation. It's like a work vacation that you
Yes.
It's like, they're fun. Like, I look forward to them. 2 of my coaches yesterday asked for a second retreat in the spring.
Oh,
maybe 2026. I'm not sure I'm ready for that yet. But I was like, whoa, okay. I guess you guys liked the one we did in the fall. If you want to do a second one, I was like,
yeah,
whoa. I thought that was really exciting. So we should probably wrap this up because we have another meeting in 5 minutes. So
we do. Your masterminds.
Yeah, we have a little mastermind thing we're doing. I just wanted to thank Lauren, and I'm sure I want everyone to get to know Lauren because she does some really cool things. And I don't know, maybe we'll have her come teach my group at some point. There's a lot of things that Lauren can help us endurance coaches with in the world of teaching, because she's a teacher by history. I don't know if that's the right word. And systems, which, I love, and then automations, which she doesn't know this yet, but I she's going to help us in our business. So,
love me some automations.
Lauren's content and strategy muse at times. So
yes. High strategy. Michelle, where can my audience go to find you if they want to check out your fantastic content and strategy on Instagram?
At Coach Michelle Lake with 2 L's, Michelle with 2 L's. Lake is on my Instagram, and your handle is?
LaurenMonique.business, and we'll link it up in the show notes too, so you can check out both of our accounts and so we can follow up. Yeah.
Yay. So we'll put these out on both of our podcasts. You can take a listen to, either of them if you want more business strategy and mindset and all the things we talk about. So,
and just inspiration too. I think it's so nice to be able to hear different people's experience and what they're going through, and it gets you in the right mindset before you start work. So
100%. Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.